Hi, I'm Nick Shell, and you're watching this video because you watched me perform my newest original song, That's What Tom Petty Taught Me. So if you haven't seen me perform that song, there's a link below. You can check it out and hear me perform, watch me perform my new song, That's What Tom Petty Taught Me, which, funny thing about this song is I woke up, today's what, Tuesday? I woke up last Monday, just a little over a week ago, thinking, all right, well, I recorded my last song, so I guess I should write a new song now. And I thought, what would I write a song about? And my wife had said recently, she's like, when in doubt, just talk about Tom Petty. She's like, you always have something interesting to say about Tom Petty. Like that wasn't her advice for me writing a song, that was just in general. Like, if there's a lull in the conversation, talk about Tom Petty. I thought, what if I wrote a song about talking about Tom Petty? Well, it turned into That's What Tom Petty Taught Me. And looking back on this, and I've always been acutely aware, but me learning to play the guitar and learning to write songs completely coincided with Tom Petty and his career. So I'll get into the lyrics here, but I think the song pretty much explains itself, but here we go. That's what Tom Petty taught me. In the spring of '94, I turned 13. I was practicing guitar chords while trying to sing. I clearly remember that. That was when I was learning to play the guitar, and very eagerly I wanted to start being able to sing and write songs, but getting the coordination, being able to sing and strum and do these chords at the same time. And then at that same time, Tom Petty's Greatest Hits came out, which is this next line. The best $11 I had ever spent was a cassette tape of Tom Petty's Greatest Hits. And yeah, so I went with my church youth group. We went to the mall for some reason on a trip, and I had enough money. It was about 11 or 12 bucks for Tom Petty's Greatest Hits. Thought I'll just buy this because that was one of my first albums I ever bought, and all of his hits were on that. But around that same time, like a year later, as I'm still new at playing guitar, then his Wildflowers album came out, which had so many of his iconic hits on it as well. So as I'm going to the chorus, I go, hey! Which that's a Tom Petty signature move there. He does something, I believe, in American Girl, one of his first singles, he does that. And then also Into the Great Wide Open, into the musical break, he kind of goes, huh! He makes this grunt, and so I want to incorporate that in there as a nod to his style. So the chorus, which is a collection of titles of his songs, and for the rest of the song, most lyrics are that, just a collection of, now that I think about it too, I'm able to make ad revenue from the songs that I do. I don't know that it's gonna let me do that for Tom Petty because so much of the lyrics are, again, obviously clearly borrowed to make a medley. But here's the chorus. I was learning to fly into the great wide open. I was free falling, still running down a dream. Oh my, even the losers believe you don't have to live like a refugee. That's what Tom Petty taught me. So yeah, we have a collection of Learning to Fly, Into the Great Wide Open, Free Falling, Running down a Dream, all classic titles. And then Oh My, which is part of the Mary Jane's Last Dance, which is also in Free, his greatest hits. And then Even the Losers Believe, because Even the Losers is a song. You don't have to live like a refugee, that's a song. But that's what Tom Petty taught me. So he taught me basically the style of how to write songs and a certain acoustic sound that they have, which definitely carries on to my style. But ultimately, you don't have to live like a refugee. That's what Tom Petty taught me. And I think overall, when we look at Tom Petty, my understanding from an Enneagram perspective, he was Enneagram 6 wing 7, counterphobic 6. So he was all about proving that he wasn't afraid to go against his fears. So you don't have to live like a refugee. That's what Tom Petty taught me. That in itself is a major theme, I feel, for my development as a person and also in the songs that I've written too. I think that stands out. The second verse, well, it's good to be king when you're only 13. And It's Good to Be King is a song from his Wildflowers album that came out around that same time. Thinking You Don't Know How It Feels to Me. You Don't Know How It Feels to Be Me, which again was another single from that Wildflowers album. I grew up tall and I grew up right, which is a line from Mary Jane's Last Dance. But it's time to move on, and that's a title from Wildflowers. It's Wake Up Time. And that is actually a reference to the last track on the Wildflowers album, It's Wake Up Time, which was never a single, which was never hit, but it's more of a reference to anyone who's a true Tom Petty fan. They would know that reference, especially when he says, It's wake up time. The way I kind of mouth it and the way I say it more than I sing it, that's a nod to how he sang that song. And then the last little bit of the song, which is kind of like a half verse that I end with, I'm gonna listen to my heart, which he had a song called She's Gonna Listen to Her Heart. No, I Won't Back Down, which one of his best songs. And again, that counterphobic Six mentality. I Got a Room at the Top of the World Right Now, which that is in his 1999 Echo album. That's probably, I guess, the latest reference I made of any of the songs. I Got a Room at the Top of the World Right Now. That was never really a big hit for him, but anyone who went to his concerts definitely expected that song to be played. It definitely summed up more of his somber tunes there that he did more towards the later end of his career. So there you go. That's the whole thing. It's a medley of titles and references to Tom Petty songs. But if I were to think who was the most influential musician as far as while I was learning to write songs on a guitar, the musical style that I play, the content that I do, and having that, I want to say just, there's so many different styles, even in the types of songs that he's written, but it's very introspective. It's not quite country. So ultimately, as much as I have so many influential artists that I can name, there's no denying that Tom Petty was it. And I would say too, what's interesting, I looked it up, when he came out with his Greatest Hits album, and we came out with his Wildflowers album, which largely this song references, I think he was 43 years old and I'm 42. But either way, he was in his early 40s and still being very relevant in his career, because in your early 40s is not necessarily a popular age to still be successful, especially when you've already are a living legend, which Tom Petty was at that time. And then he comes out with Greatest Hits album. And then he comes up with another album after that that was really one of my favorite albums of his and still had some very iconic songs on that. So I feel that when you look up Tom Petty, he's one of the most successful recording artists ever. And at the same time, I feel like people don't really think of him as the legend that he is. He's one of the most underrated recording artists of all time, despite his success. So I wanted to write a song basically as a huge fan of Tom Petty, a love letter to Tom Petty, and ultimately anybody else who likes him as much as I do that could appreciate a song. And I get it. Hardly anyone will ever hear this song. I'm nobody famous. I'm nobody special. I get that. But if nothing else, I did this because I wanted to. It's funny because Tom Petty has a song, This One's For Me, on his Echo album. Even he recognized, sometimes you just got to write a song because you feel like it and you want to, even if no one else can appreciate it. Your comments belong right here.